We're gonna discover next
Okay.
level of collaboration.
Okay, officially starting, call the meeting to order at September 11th, 2023, commencing the Larkspur Library Board of Directors meeting. We'll start with roll call. Please announce yourselves.
Jeff Henderson, present.
Mel Futterman, present.
I'm Emma Foggy, present.
Jonathan Chambroom, present.
And Damon Hill, present.
Diane Pike, Friends of the Library Board, present.
Great, thank you. So we have quorum, we'll continue. The first items of business, item number 2 on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar, starting with approval of the minutes from the most recent official board meeting, which was March 13th, which has been circulated. Are there any comments on the meeting minutes from March 13th?
I would comment, I was unaware that we should add future agenda items that were from here. And how late it is, so. If you go to future agenda items, those haven't been added for annual letter to the council.
We'll cover that, but thank you.
Okay.
Yep, duly noted. Okay, I invite a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
seconded?
Second,
No, okay, so minutes have been approved and passed. Item number 3 is public comment. So now we'll hear public comments from anybody who may be present. And Damon, can you tell if there are members of the community?
There doesn't appear to be any members.
Okay, barring any members to comment, we move on from public comment to the board member report and comments. So this is now our time as board members to comment on any and all matters that are present. So I open that discussion.
I'm thrilled we have a librarian.
yes.
Yes.
I haven't missed everybody for 6 months, maybe, I guess, now that I think about it. And, let's get back to, talking library things. It's my,
Yes.
I have no reports from anybody else.
Same here, ready to hear what happened in the past 6 months that we missed. Might have missed.
Not sure he has all the answers.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, yes, same. I think, look, obviously, it'd be awesome to get into a sort of like a discussion on how we get into an established rhythm that we've been hoping to get into for some time. And it's lovely to have you here, and we're super excited about the next chapter for Larkspur Library, and obviously with the new library and the works, there's a lot of work, a lot of things to figure out, a lot of changes that will come. And it'd be helpful to just really, as a body, for us to kind of come together on how we want to spend our time thinking through the ways we can be helpful in leading some of those changes.
Mhm. I agree. A comment that I'll add is, in addition to reiterating a very heartfelt welcome, Damon, and gratitude to have you here. Today being September 11th, which has some significance to also honor, and from that just perspective of appreciating things in community and here in our very local community, we're all here by choice, and particularly excited to have you and just engage with you. As Amir said, get into a groove, get into a rhythm. There's a lot of energy and a lot of ideas, at this table. So I look forward to, everything that you bring and working together on that. So without further reports or comments from the board members, Damon, I'll turn it over to you. Item number 5, the director will report. So the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a very warm welcome here in Larkspur, and I'm getting to know the community. I'm really on month 2. And I've wanted just to really highlight at first some of the things that have been going on for me and trying to connect with the community. For me, libraries are about connection, and it's connecting people, it's connecting materials. It's how do we get the community together? That's always been the one word for libraries for me. And so I've kind of started to try to get out and meet folks as much as possible. And, oh, excuse me. You know, I've attended a Commons Friends meeting. And so I got to know the Commons a little bit better. I've been able to have a nice meeting with friends last week that went really well. And before that, had a kickoff lunch with Diana and Barbara to learn a little bit about the organization. Saturday, I had a little lunch with Larry from the Library Foundation. I'm going to go to the Library Foundation meeting this Wednesday. So trying to connect all the groups here, and that's why I'm kind of glad also to finally connect with everyone here. So we can all figure out how to work together and facilitate, you know, the current library, but also kind of planning for the future one, which is what makes me very excited to be here. I come from the county of Marin, and I worked there for 24 years. And so I kind of know a little bit about the community. I did a lot of remodels and refreshes there. So I hope to bring that and, you know, just see what we can do together. I've also kind of, just to highlight a couple other things, I've kind of met with the San Anselmo Library to talk a little bit about what they're doing, because they're about same size. They're in City Hall, get an idea of their structure. I've known Linda for many years. Met with Sausalito and their foundation for a little bit, kind of connect, well, you know, similar size. Did a little introduction with the city council at one of the meetings. And then we did also a few community outreach things. We partnered with the Corte Madero Library to do the Welcome Back to School Day at Neil Cummins, which was really successful and really popular. Gave away books there. I'm hoping for like early literacy, we could give away more books and, you know, just be welcoming to folks. That might be a friend's wish list item. And then Saturday, we did the wine stroll and met a lot of the community members. So I feel like I'm starting to get out, kind of learned a lot the past 2 months, now ready to take kind of the next step to develop and start to move things forward. And kind of figuring out this, you know, city's plan. One thing I would like to maybe do relatively soon is look at the library's mission statement and mission and have kind of a discussion over that. It's a long one right now. And that's always, it's always, I found maybe a good way for groups to have input on library, develop consensus as much as the statement itself. So that's just kind of one idea I've had, and start to develop, you know, some 3 or 4, you know, goals that are achievable within the next year or two. And so I think those are the big things for me and what I'm doing, want to connect and what we want to do. I know you haven't met for 6 months, and 4 of those months I can't help too much. But you know, the past 2 months, the library did have a very successful summer reading program. They had numerous programs. You know, they primarily did crafts, education, and entertainment programs. There's over 100 plus kids, you know, for some of the programs down at the park there. Which again, wish it was in the library. When you think of the new library, that's what's really exciting, because you're missing those kids at the program getting the books and, you know, that connection, but we're doing the best we can. And then also kind of wanted to highlight some of our September programs that are coming up. I'm excited. We're bringing back Read to Dog. I remember that one from other people. That's always a good program. So we got the volunteer back, and that'll be starting back. And then we're also kind of resuming some of our regular book clubs. And on Saturday, we're going to continue once a month to do the Read and Stomp and music program. And that's a nice program if you come on Saturdays, because you get to see the parents a little more of the weekday story time. On Fridays, a little bit more of the caregivers. So that's just some of the highlights, but I'd also kind of like to give a huge shout out to our staff, Teresa and Jess, who've kept this thing going, you know, day by day. Especially Teresa's a wonderful librarian and has helped me so much. One staffing change, not sure if she was even here 6 months ago, but Ann Solmer was a librarian. She's no longer with us. So we're going to go ahead and moving ahead, working, and we're going to hire a circulation person, which that position's been vacant for some time, not even sure how long. And, you know, they'll be the person who does a lot of the routine items, day-to-day checkout, running our list, reports, that kind of thing. And then we'll also be hiring another librarian. So we're kind of talking a little bit about what that librarian maybe can do, where they may be different. And this is where I kind of thinking about this library versus the future one. This library doesn't really have a teen librarian. You know, they do teen services, and I'm not to denigrate Jess or Teresa. We have a lot of great volunteers. Someone who could really bring an active teen council, a lot of teen programs. Kids are, like to read under the beanbag there. And that's great, and it's a hard space for teens too, with parking and, all that. But we do have the kids after school. So that's just a thought I've had for this new library, maybe a little more of a teen focus, getting some teen energy in there. So I think that's kind of my oral report.
That's great. Damon, could you review the current staff? Who is everybody that is currently working at the library? That would be.
Oh, so it's
Good question.
Teresa, Gaspo, and Jess, and me. And
Are both Teresa and just full librarians?
yeah, they're degree librarians and they're full-time staff. The city also does what they call part-time staff, and they're non-benefited positions. So we have Richard and we have Luca and Alessandra, who are they're support people, but they're not full-time employees, but you'll see them at the front desk shelving books and helping out.
And they are, sorry to interrupt, but and are they librarians? They're not librarians.
No, they're not
They're
librarians.
support staff.
Yeah, they could do checkout and shelf books and help people.
Locate a book.
Yeah. But they're all part-time also too. So we really only have 3 of us right now. And coming from the county, we had about 200 people.
Oh.
And so that's what I think one of my biggest adjustments have been of our budget here for the whole library is less than the book budget at the county. So it's for me, it's been a little bit of adjustment, but it's more nimble. There's a little more flexible. There's a lot of, I try not to see positives and negatives too much, but you try to just do what is and what is best. Even though you do have these judgments in your head. There are advantages of being small and big, depending on the situation. But that's been kind of an adjustment, the budget. But it's a good budget, and our staffing is good. Everyone's very competent and everyone's good. So.
And you said you have an open hire for a new librarian. Is that a full-time?
It would be a full-time
To
position.
replace Ann?
Yeah.
But what you mentioned, circulation, is that a full-time librarian as well, or is it a different qualification?
The circulation staff doesn't require a MLS degree, but it would be full-time.
Okay.
And so that person would often be on the desk frequently.
So is it easier to staff if it's not the librarian degree?
It'll be interesting to see the pools of people, because on the circulation position would pay less. So, attracting folks, we'll have to kind of see how that goes.
Thank you so much. Helpful just to kind of reorient and give the context for that. That's great.
Yeah.
And once you have the circulation people, you will have a full staff,
Mhm.
but which is an ideal, I don't know if it's ideal, but you would have what you are envisioning from that.
Yeah, that's what's kind of budgeted for, but they haven't, just with COVID, we haven't been able to really ramp up to that same level that was pre-COVID. And now we're starting to do more pre-COVID tasks, like more programming, more people in the library, more services to folks, more PR development, all those kind of things are versus curbside. So we're starting to see librarians doing more professional work too, and wanting to get out there more. And myself, I really want to do more outreach and be out in the community as much as possible and trying to connect with groups. But we got to keep the branch open too. So that's happened a couple times. So.
Awesome.
Well, you mentioned that, okay, anyone
Yes.
else has more on the staff? You mentioned teens program, and then you mentioned talking to other libraries at similar size. Do you know what they do in these other libraries, Sausalito, San Anselmo, for teams and programs that we could improve on?
I didn't get to they're still, I think, kind of working on it. I think Sausalito's a little uniquer in its relationship with Marin City and the programs they do, because that school district's combined and the opportunities there. San Anselmo might be a little more comparable in that sense, but I didn't really get a chance to talk to them in depth about their teen work at San Anselmo specifically, but
It would be interesting to see what they're doing and what programs are working and why they are working. And because I believe that we are in a unique geographical position in the center of 3 different middle school, elementary school, but we have Marin Primary and we have Hall. Redwood have its own library, and we may not have the same attraction as attractive to older teens. So definitely, I would think that middle schooler.
And St. Patrick's.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's did
Is
it.
it a middle school as well, St. Patrick's? Oh, yeah.
It's 8th grade.
Yeah, it goes.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're close, yeah.
Right.
And libraries traditionally, when they talk about teens, it's usually
Middle
12 to
school.
16,
Yeah.
13 to 16. Obviously, we welcome everyone, but that would probably be the focus. Right now, our teens, we have some teens who volunteer here,
Right.
and they're very, engaged in the library. So we're kind of filling that niche, but we want to do programs that would make them come in. And other libraries, what we did in Marin is had a teen advisory council, so they could tell us what they're into, because it's going to change year by year as each generation grows up. So we want to meet what the current teens are.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that this is very important, especially given the fact that we are building a new house for our library. Because if we don't know what we need to put inside, it makes it more difficult to know how to organize it or what to make room for. So, and I do agree that having teens, whatever their age, specific age they are, is important to not let them out of the net. So I think it's a good thing that you're looking into what teens are doing, what teens are wanting, so that we can be prepared for them in the new building.
I like the teen council kind of thing, to get real, first person, accounts as to what they would like and see in a library. And, especially as we, develop the agenda and floor plan or whatever for the new building. And you just think, God, it's such a hard nut to crack in teens too. But we are in such a nice geographical location with so many that just might wander and stumble into the place. But it's not like, my generation where all you needed was a cigarette machine in the library and the kids could go to, and that's not gonna happen. So I'm not sure how you're gonna
Now you
do
need
that.
fast internet. That
You
would
need
be-
something, they need Wi-Fi so they thumb text each other or somehow, but I don't know. They gotta read and to make lifelong learners, library users out, which is, it's fine.
So I love how you said you're really interested in even doing more community outreach.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's consistent with seeking to have teen voices and people here
Yes.
for input. I think there's something there about deliberately soliciting input from really a broad spectrum of people. Teens might be the hardest to actually, to crack or secure, but I'd like to just lodge that as a topic, because I think it's spot on.
yeah.
Things we've talked about before are, how do we listen to the community? Which is outreach, some is proactive and some is creating the right avenues for those voices to reach us. Both soliciting it, but having avenues where we can receive it.
Amira, how close are your children to teens or middle school?
So I'm a great representative of multi-phases. I have a 11-year-old daughter, got
That's-
a 7-year-old son, and I have a 3-year-old son. So I'm happy to participate in the range of different needs at different phases.
Okay, good.
I think, one of the things that, this is awesome, because I think actually the last board meeting that, the one in February, we met here and the topic was about how we were gonna come together and brainstorm on ways that we could get our teams engaged.
Yeah.
That's kind of like close to where one of my last like huddle with this group was. So it's great to see that that's already top of mind. And then you said, one of your first things is around like anchoring us on a mission that's like we're all kind of able to get behind. And last year there was a doc that was kind of like drafted as like a brainstorming thing for us to kind of kick off this path for us to explore. And it's still opened up, but our library should deliver on a mission and a vision that fits 2022, which we can revise for 2023 and beyond. And then in it's had this sort of core elements of like what's happening is things have changed quite dramatically in our community. Technology, people's needs, how people consume information, what they're used to, and how they consume information. And I put in, what's limiting is kind of like a clear mission and a vision that is put together with the community, and the other, I think, big challenge is focus, right? Because we do have a lot of different things that we already provide. There's all this existing kind of investments and programs, and there's a lot of inertia, like in all the stuff that we've done. And then I saw the opportunity as like post-pandemic, things have really changed on the community. I think like the demographic of working professionals now that aren't commuting, that are very much like want another avenue to bond and connect with their neighbors, and there aren't that many places to get together, and the library is like one of the few places that our city can fund, and obviously with the new locations, a lot of ways we can innovate in how we shape that space and services, right, to get there. This was an exercise I think we were all excited about last year that we couldn't quite get off the ground. And so since you're passionate about it, we're all very in favor of finding that tone for the community and ways that we can support you in that. And as Jonathan said, this group is just like passionate, like are kind of given that this is not a governance sport, but a supportive sport, where our job here is to help you succeed, right? And we just would love to be able to know where and how you can most get leverage from us so that we can help push all of these things forward.
Yeah, just to emphasize that, please call on us as a group to help you do any of those kinds of things, and take advantage of our individual expertises that we have too, that you think of that we can assist in any way possible, because it's we're excited about it.
That's what we're here
Yeah.
for. I agree. I think that we should really prioritize revising the mission, because that's a starting point. And then if we want to tackle the teen program and as exercise our little because your kids are going to be there soon enough, so we need to have it up and going within the next 2 years. I hope earlier than that. But just something that just helps us just hone down our way of doing things and helping you in that.
Yeah.
And
I'm new to this, but does David know each of your separate expertise? How he could call on you for particular things?
well, I think generally we
Maybe just take a quick, quick break.
Maybe.
A short recess.
Okay, let me come down. I was afraid it was
Oh, yeah.
locked.
Right, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And got locked down.
I got like
It must be on some sort of timer.
Yes.
yeah.
Here. So do you all know, does Damon know your levels of expertise?
Not really.
So I wondered how how he could gain access to that, so that he'll
Yeah.
know, oh, I could call on Amir for this, or I could call on
That's,
Jeff for that.
Yeah, generally we work as a board so that it just shows up at the meeting that,
But
each
if
of
you,
us
if you really
think-
knew,
Yes. Yeah,
some of your
exactly.
interests and expertise, it would be helpful to him.
Yeah.
To call, what to call on you for, other than just
Yeah.
a general, fundraiser or.
Yeah, we don't do
Yeah.
the outreach, like not the board.
Yeah.
One thing we can't do. Hello, Anne.
Hey.
yeah.
We have to call, yeah.
Okay.
The new library will have a new lock. That's all
Okay,
right.
good. Okay. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you,
Yeah.
it's good to be here.
We're just having a discussion of the state of affairs, and there's been a fairly long recess since our last board meeting, so also meeting Damon for his first board meeting. So getting back up to speed, and Damon, we just invited you to the Google Doc that Amir was referencing, put that in there, so you'll get it at your library.org address. You can just see that, yeah. More, I know this was kind of an open comment. I know this was just finishing it. Damon, your director's oral report that we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that really just concludes. I appreciate all your input and guidance in this, because I know I'm gonna need to rely on everyone here. Because even though I'm familiar with Marin, I'm not familiar with Larkspur, so getting into that community and those conduits, I'll be really looking forward to listening. So I guess that concludes it, and thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
I did have another question.
Oh, please.
I'm always
Yeah.
a fountain of questions. I did hear on Saturday at the wine store that you had a library card focus that you were, how did that go?
They'll go, and I might could get
That's
that
the
in
next
agenda
item.
Oh, is
too.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
It'll be
we'll close the director's oral report, item number 6. Business items again from Damon, so the first one is the zip books grant, and then the next one is.
Excellent.
So, yeah, and kind of figuring out these agendas, and this could have probably been in the report, but again, kind of learning. We were awarded a grant from the state for $5,762 to buy books, and our book budget isn't that strong. So the one thing this will do, this program, is if we don't have the book in our library or it's in Marin County, we'll buy it for you on Amazon and mail it to your house. And then we would like you to return it to us
Brilliant.
to add to the collection. So it's kind of a patron driven collection. We haven't promoted it yet, like put it on our website. But we've bought, just interacting with people, the librarians, they could find this book or whatever. So we bought 5 or 6 books to date. People are happy, they get a book. And I think it's gonna work out well. So that's an exciting program. So
Enters the library's collection through that person, and they return it to the library, and now it's available.
yeah,
Right.
And there are no criteria in terms of, should it be a recent book, or should it be a book of general interest, or fiction, non-fiction?
no, we're still kind of working on criteria, but we don't want to put up too many roadblocks, like maybe. If someone self-published their own daughter's picture book and, pasted it together, maybe not.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, if you live in Larkspur and we're still getting the dollar amount if it's 50 or 75, not, a large art book that would take up the whole budget. So minor things like that would be limitations, but we don't want to we want to get books in the people's hands. And one book that was just of interesting, and I saw them at the wine stroll, they got the book and they hadn't quite received it yet, but they wanted to take, I wish I could remember it, but it's a spiritual path in Japan where you walk,
The shrines or
the paths, and it's a book about that, and they're hoping to read that, get inspired to go. They might buy it, but You know, and just seeing them at the wine stroll, that was to me like the perfect connection. I didn't know them before. I was like, hey, so. I think it's gonna be a great program once it's up and more, you know, also to figuring out ways to market this outside the library, because I'm hoping this would attract people who. May not normally use the library too, you know, so. Again, if you had those ideas or ideas for promotion, because we'll have it on our website, we kind of have standard things, but I've noticed so far. Our publicity is a little within our own world. So how do we get that out? You know, we have the city manager's newsletter, you know, that's a great way for us to get out.
What
But
about like Vicki Larson in the IJ? She's a regular columnist and she would love, I think, love to promote it. Maybe you get bigger response than you wanted, but
yeah,
that would certainly, I
Maybe a
mean,
good way to beef up the teen section.
yeah, that's the teens, what they want to
Have
read.
the
Yeah.
teen
Oh,
what
that's a good
they-
idea.
What
Yeah.
they wish we had.
You know, what else you
Probably
could do
months.
is rain voice. You could just say,
Oh.
introduce yourself.
oh, that's true.
That's a good idea.
Rain
Yeah.
voice, yeah. We take everybody, you know.
We could put it also in the our newsletter, but that's internal, so.
We did that with students at the Art Institute and
Uh-huh.
had books shipped to them and then they brought it back and they loved it. And we figured, well, if one student will want it, another student will want it, which was the case too. And then you can publicize, we would publicize what books people, not specifically what someone specific got, but what
Yeah.
books were done to protect the patron. But, you know, the titles that were received and people were intrigued by that too. Plus it's things that build the collection because it's not in the collection.
That's what I was
So it makes sense.
saying. It would be good to see what part of our collection is a little needy. And try to use that to, if it's, and when I say
Yeah.
needy, it's not that we don't have it on the shelf, we don't want to fill the shelf. But titles from a particular aspect of the collection are repeatedly requested and we don't have that many. And
Those teens wanting graphic novels or whatever,
Yeah, that's true.
are specific to them.
I think this is super interesting. I
That's
mean,
really.
$5,700 allows for some quantity of books to get bought. And I love all the PR ideas, both to broadcast and get the mileage out of the community, knowing that it's
Yeah.
possible. But then also showcasing what books are now added to the collection by request, right, that we fulfill. It's just a great community
That could be-
engagement, you know, access point.
that could be shown in that little showcase we have downstairs.
It could be on the website. You
Website.
could have a rotating spot of like, you know, the newest edition is X and
Mm.
you have a lot, you could have a ticker tape going by.
Yeah, and I think we could, I don't, our website's a little older. And you know, if you see the county website, we could do probably, hopefully like a carousel of books. I think we could
Yeah.
important and say this is, you know.
Yep.
And try to come up with a clever name, Larkspur's picks or
Yeah.
Love and
Yeah.
Larkspur, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, brainstorm a little bit, but, so that's an exciting grand
Patrons
opportunity.
picks or something.
What?
Patrons
Patrons
picks
pick, yeah.
or teen patron
Alliteration.
picks or something.
Yeah. And so that was kind of that
That
item,
was the grant from the state,
the state library, yeah,
okay?
so. And I thought 5,700 was nice for our size
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and they've obviously. Lost money for other things, so,
Did we apply for that grant or how did you get it?
someone before I arrived applied for it, and we got it through that. So more to come, and you know, if the grant works, you know, I could see setting some, maybe some other funds and keeping it going, you know, year after
Just
year, we
thinking
do
that
that,
that could get sponsored, you know, from the community and matched or grown.
yeah. So that was that item, and the other thing I just wanted to highlight is September is Library Card Month nationwide. ALA, which is our national organization, has certain months they promote things, so September is traditionally Library Card Month, and that's, you know, usually for back to school endeavors. October is Friends Month or Friends Week, so that's another one put out there. Those are like the two big ones, but we did this little campaign a little bit, again, kind of small, pass around. We had this at the wine stroll and probably had about 10 or 12 people use the QR code,
Did
got it on there.
Scan their.
And then they can
phones
enter
and-
in and they got their, they get their e-card, then they'll eventually come in and get their real card. But they can use ebooks right away once they get this up. So again, this is one, it's a challenge for libraries. Because we're so internal, and I was kind of bringing it to you, like ways we could reach out to maybe other folks to promote to get to a library card. One thing it takes a little administrative work, but some libraries have gotten like the name lists of students. And then uploaded it. We have a system and uploaded it, and they tried to give cards to like an entire school or an entire grade or entire class. And you match if they already have a card, and there's an opportunity for students to opt out. But in Nevada, we gave 7,000 kids cards last year.
That's fantastic.
So if there's, and this might be planting the seed for next year, or we may not do it in September for school. Maybe it ends up being, January. But that's something, if we partner with Corte Madera, Neil Cummins seems real good. So just wanted to, anywhere we could get people to get the cards. One of the friends had a suggestion to get the city council cards. We really wanted to do that and just deliver it to them. So just any ideas you might have of ways, just to feel like a membership or a card. We're also going to put it in the newsletter, because I think a lot of people just want the e-card too, because probably, I haven't looked at it super close, but at the county, half of our circulation, half our usage was remote. So, a lot of people use this who don't, come to the building. So that's why we're trying to get the word out, because you may not need to come to us, more for adults. So just wanted to highlight that campaign, and if you had any thoughts about ways to get cards in the hands of people who might not currently have it.
No,
And you could always let me know, a little bit later if you have any inspirations or kind of, you need to know this person, or let's collaborate there. So I guess those could have been probably director's reports, but anyway.
No, that's great. Thank you, Damon. Did you just now say that in previous experience, you have worked with schools, gotten the list of students that don't have cards, allowed for an opt-out, but then provided cards to all students who don't have one?
Yeah, or we renew the card, they got it in whatever age. And we have a system, it took a long while, but within our MarinNet, the large consortium, there's like a system, and this task will be 1 hour, 2 hours or whatever. So it's pretty systematic, actually. If you have more kids, someone has to go through each little record. But we could probably find someone to do that. One of our part-time people to kind of do some of the detail work. Basically, it's getting Excel spreadsheets and uploading it and that sort of thing.
and do you think that giving cards to people even so they don't expect it would be okay? Because they may not even.
I think it was successful. That's why I think knowing the community and maybe talking to you and seeing if that would work here. Because also, it's this community might have students that don't need the resources in some ways, of like a South Nevada. But I think just having the card, you're here. You're just kind of welcoming, letting there, and there's some picture books that they may want. I don't know. There's a lot of things just to do with the card.
So that would be done with the school.
With the school, and
So the school
ideally
would announce it to the
In
parents. and the parents
partnership
would-
with the school, and it's probably in partnership with the school's library.
Yeah, and probably on some ways, depending if the school's smaller, you could kind of make a little bit of a deal of it, especially if they're second, it depends on the age level, but if they're first or second graders, you might go to the classroom, present it, do a story time, make a little something exciting for it, or maybe, give them a little book or something, or a little Larky sticker, I don't know. If they're younger, but there might be something fun there we could do, just so they know a library's here, because some people may not, especially if you're new to town, may not even be aware there's a library here.
Correct.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So that was item 6, business items. Next is status reports from the support groups. So Diane, you're going to lead us off.
I'm the vice president of Friends of the Library, and our new president, as Barbara has left us, we're grieving that, but Diana St. James is our new president, and she is also a librarian at Mill Valley Middle Valley School. Not sure if it's, I think it's an elementary school. I might not have the name right, but it's in Mill Valley, obviously. So I'm presenting for the group. In May this year, we did a touch trucks event. And 3,400 people came, so it was almost double last year. It was really quite wonderful. It's a lot of young families, and we had a booth that talked about the library program, and the new library that's coming. And we raised $20,000 and gave $17,000 to the Commons to help that new library get built. We're not going to do the event this year. They're planning in the library, the parking lot where we were, new solar panels above the cars. So we had fun at the wine stroll with people there and meeting more people and people, getting library cards with their phones and talking about what the programs were, and that was fun. Because the library building is now funded, our season of giving fundraising is going to focus on the library programming and materials for the coming year that Damon and the group would like to get. So he's going to give us a wish list, and we'll try and meet that. We also continue to support 2 laundromat libraries in Larkspur, near the Donut Alley and near the Philly cheesesteak, are 2 laundromats. And so we provide free books for children, and they're picture books and mostly elementary, because sometimes the children come in with their parents as the parents are doing their laundry, and they can have the book and they can take it home with them. And we have some in Spanish. So Diana, who also works at Copperfield's part-time, Copperfield's has been really wonderful at supplying us with free books. So we get lots of really books in really good condition that we put into those laundromat libraries.
Can I
This
ask a
December.
question on that? How does that work? Are there books just present in the laundromat?
Yes.
Take and then return, or would
No.
you also return to the library?
No, they're not library
Just-
books.
Just stay
They're
there.
just free books for the children. Of the
Oh, got it.
people who, so we stock them every week. Yeah, every week. There's 3 or 4 of us that do that, so I'm thinking. So there's some shelving in the first laundromat school. I do library, and then I do too. The one over by Philly cheesesteaks has just sturdy book holders that we put the books in. So there's usually we put in maybe 2 dozen books a week. And often many are taken. So we hope that the kids, and we have a sign that says free from Larkspur Library, please come visit us, get your card. We'll also be having a holiday tea and book recommendation, as we usually do at Front Book Passage in December. The date hasn't yet been decided, but we'll let you know. And then we'd like to establish a parent advisory group, about the teen advisory group. We have many parents of young children whom we don't know if they're members or not. But we love their advice as to what kinds of programs that would benefit the children, teen parents as well as young children, so that we could also get their participation. We don't have on the Friends of Library Board. Most of us are way past our 40s, way past. So we'd like to get a younger group that wouldn't have to meet monthly, but they could meet together at their convenience and then let us know if there's a new library coming, what would enhance your experience for your family and your children? So we hope to get that created. And then in February next year, we'll have a membership mailing to expand the membership, particularly among member families. So that's, if you have any ideas on how to reach them, when you're one of those parents, we'd love to know more how to reach, your friends who aren't already involved.
Happy to help, please.
Thank you.
Follow up.
Okay. Good.
Great, thank you so much.
Sure.
And you.
The common foundation.
Yes.
Anyway, we love the Friends of
We
Library. We love
do
you guys
too.
too.
Yeah.
Really
Me
good time.
too.
And thank you for inviting us, you guys. It's good to
Sure.
see you. We never see you guys around town and 4th of July parade. I mean, your wife is great Larky. In that beautiful car.
Oh, man, that car was a delight to drive.
And your kids
It's
look
like,
adorable.
wait, I'm gonna keep this for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, thank you for having us. Thank you for the invitation. So I hope you all can come to the welcome party for this young man. On the 21st from 4:30 to 6:30. Just come. What's wonderful about this event that we're doing is we're doing it together. So we're hosting, Larkspur Community Foundation is hosting it along with Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation and the Commons Foundation. We're doing it together. So it's gonna be really cool. And
Damon,
so-
you're bringing people together.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just so excited.
Bringing them together.
Yeah.
No,
But there's so much energy here. I've been so welcomed. It's just, it's amazing.
Well, it's really great because we invited Damon to come to the Commons Foundation, one of our meetings. And I just want, I just asked him to come for 30 minutes so he can have a glass of wine and you can just get to know him. And he ended up staying for the whole meeting, which was so nice of you. Because your input was important to us. So that was great. So right now, the city of Larkspur is making a resolution for naming rights. So our kickoff right now is for the landscape campaign. Our goal is to raise $1 million. Anything over that, we're always going to the library, whatever program, whatever the city needs. But our goal is to raise $1 million just for the beautiful landscaping outside. So that should be enough to make a beautiful indoor, outdoor fountain, gardens,
Amazing.
luxury, good for children, adults, grab a cup of coffee, sit out and read a wonderful book. So it's gonna be, I personally think this library is going to make Larkspur a perfect city to live in.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's really missing
Yeah.
is a common place to go and enjoy and commune with others. So we're so
and is there a
excited.
sketch of just like what we know from a design?
So do you know that there's 3 right now being interviewed for the finale? Do you guys know that? Yeah.
Go onto their websites, well, they're gonna come to
Yeah,
us.
no,
They're
share that.
spectacular. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
groups I won't name which one, but you'll find it, they've designed probably 2 dozen books all around the country, many dollars. They are extraordinary. Just look really beautiful. I don't know if we can afford that, but they're gonna do a good job. They have the 3 design companies have all done libraries.
What helped Joe Jennings and the original board members a lot to raise the 5 million was we had this drawing, but they always announced this is what it could look like. So what's exciting is it did raise the 5 million. So I think all the architects are looking at this design going, okay, the public really liked this. How can we move forward?
Mhm.
So, yeah, so it's gonna be,
That's good. And then just remind you, like, if you could help us just get a feel for like the guidance the designers are getting in terms of this is what we care about, indoor, outdoor, like what are the things that are really being prioritized, like this is what we're.
So Julian is involved, Dan Schwartz is involved,
Okay.
Damon's involved, you've got another group, the Kisners or something like that is involved. And then 2 people from the Common Foundation. Brock is with us, so Brock Wagstaff, who sits on the planning commission, he's gonna be involved with the process. So right now, the city has given the architects and the contractors 2 months, 6 weeks, or maybe 6 weeks, do the design. Let's see what you got, and then the public hearing is gonna be through the planning commission. But it's really up to the council to make that decision of what it's gonna look like.
Got it.
And I think you probably know it's a design build, you probably know that. So they were given a lot of detailed information to present, so
Okay.
the one entity's designing and building it, so it'll go pretty quick.
Got it.
What's the timeline on their presentations?
So hopefully January. They are gonna make movement on the property, because we've got some money to spend from the county that needs to be spent. But I think they got an extension for the new year. So there will be movements happening in the new year. Mhm.
Yeah.
Do we have
but it
like,
has to be built by 2025.
Yeah,
Only reason why I took this position.
yeah.
City.
No, no snags.
That's right.
oh my god.
You
I
know
think, I think the only thing I'm curious about is like, if we have already like certain demographic input, like, hey, we know. Well, like families of like young kids are thinking they wish they could get out of this, or how do we get teens
Yeah.
attracted here? Do we have sort of like some level of already sort of set of things that were thought through? That we got reactions from, or as this thing kind of progresses, will there be an opportunity for people to kind of weigh in?
There'll be plenty of opportunities,
Okay,
but we've already had this 8 years ago
Right.
into.
that's
play,
what I was.
And a lot of input
When
that
already,
still exists, and a
Okay.
lot of young family inputs
okay,
happen at that time.
okay,
So we have a good feel for what the community wants.
Okay.
Yes, and then if there's more you dislike or like, you have the right to say that during the planning commission meetings. There'll be more
Yeah.
than one,
Yeah, all that initial stuff was very solid,
very solid.
and it does transfer to today
Mhm.
and can be tweaked and be flexible too, so it's. not
None of those
just
notes were
about-
thrown away.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. No, I just wanted to get caught up. I was not in the 8 year ago,
Yeah.
version of those.
it was bad.
Painful.
City website.
I've heard that reference many times, and trust me, it
We
exists.
all have a little PTSD.
It's like people at the candy
Is there
store.
anything that could be consumed? Like, could I go read anything or see stuff?
Sure, I mean, on the city, they have information, or they have a city website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you can go and look up the progress of the library, and they are constantly upgrading the news, the
Perfect.
facts. Yeah, and there'll be more and more discussions in the beginning of the year. That's when it's really gonna happen, and that's when our campaign is gonna start for the landscaping. I think as soon as people see shovels in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe polls out, that's when we're gonna go, okay, here we go, we're gonna do a campaign.
I love the idea that, the different firms, you can look at their websites
yeah.
and see what
So
they have done in
helpful.
the same area.
So helpful, yeah.
To get some sense of their
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
What happened.
I met with Dan
Exciting.
this today, and he was literally saying all three are superb.
Great.
All three
They're
are-
buildings.
know exactly what
Great.
needs to be designed in that location. So that was really welcoming to hear.
Maybe we
Great.
should have a field trip
Yeah,
to one of those,
Libraries.
yeah. And so new signage is going up. We'd love you guys to come on the
Nice.
21st of this month to kick off, let them know now we're raising money for the landscaping. Same location, just bigger, bolder, brighter signs, get people noticing that we have a kickoff happening.
Can you send me the information about the 21st,
Of course,
please?
sure.
I don't think if I got it, I missed it.
Oh, nothing was sent out. It
Okay,
was
so
just-
I don't have it.
Yeah, no, it was
Just
just
because of
decided
the
on our
boards.
meeting.
It's only the boards, not publics. Right, it was not here. It's only the boards that are involved in their greeting, Damon.
Oh, you
On the
mean for
21st?
David, or you mean
Or
for
the
Yes,
this?
first-
Lynn,
Yeah.
Oh, I sent it to you.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Can you
Oh.
send it again? 'Cause I
Oh,
don't
of
think I
course.
got it.
I mean,
I wonder-
you,
I
will
think
you-
I think you have my old email address.
Oh,
right, where the
everyone
PTH
else got
gathered.
the invite though,
I
right?
got it.
So why don't you give it to all of us? if we do it
Yeah,
correct?
it's RML. BANFUTT van, but at gmail.com.
Say it again, sorry.
Yeah.
RML
V as in Victor,
V as in Victor, A N F as in Frank, UTT
I didn't hear the.
at gmail.com.
Oh, there's something before Gmail that I missed.
so I have AML,
AR, no A, R
Just RML.
M L V as in Victor,
Mhm.
A N as in Nancy, F as in Frank,
Oh.
U T T at
Oh,
gmail.com.
FUTT.
Got it.
That's, okay.
That's okay, I tried works too. They're linked.
okay. And then just two more things, we have holiday lights that we're going to sponsor, so our names be bold and big on there. And the pumpkin patch, we're gonna sponsor, big and bold there too.
Where is the pumpkin?
Pepper Park,
Nice.
yeah, it's cute.
And could you go back to something you mentioned briefly about naming rights?
Yes,
Say more about that, please.
well, there's, I'm waiting for a resolution to occur before I'm gonna say more on that.
Okay, got it.
I
That was
need
what you
that
said,
9
that a
minutes.
resolution is in progress.
But that's gonna help us raise funds for
Oh, yeah,
for the landscaping and
stay tuned to that.
stay tuned.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got it.
Sorry, I missed the pumpkin patch. What's the?
no one has a date yet, but it's
Okay.
gonna be all over the library website. It's gonna be all over the
Sweet.
websites.
Okay.
Huge.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
That's a
you
great
mean
idea.
the Commons Foundation is going to sponsor the pumpkin patch?
We're gonna be partly sponsoring it. That's correct. With the city. We like to share sponsorships with the city.
It's a good audience to have.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure, hopefully the library will take part in that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That
so
approaches.
there's no date yet.
Enlist our help.
Yes, well, Park and Rec, it's all up to the Park and Rec.
Mhm.
So.
October
Big
sometime.
Stone. What's that?
October sometime.
October sometime.
Is the Larkspur Foundation part of that too? The Larkspur Community Foundation part of that?
I know everyone's gonna be, everyone's gonna be asked.
Yeah.
Again, it was just decided upon.
It's never been done,
Since,
so.
since Parks and Rec just came up. Damon, are you exclusive library? Or is there still a hybrid of any involvement from you on Parks and Rec?
No, I'm exclusive library, but I work really close with Nick. We're, collaborating, so.
Is
Great.
Nick, who's in charge of Park and Rec?
Nick's down, and Nick's fully in charge of
Got it.
Rec now.
Okay,
Great.
excellent. Okay. All right, Dan, thank you.
Good.
You're welcome.
Thank you, man.
Do we stay or go?
You can.
You're invited to stay, not required. We wish you
What do you
a
get?
great.
I think I'm gonna leave, but
Okay.
sometimes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
guys.
you. It'll be exciting.
And
Yeah, it's
really, let us know the next meeting date, would be helpful.
We will.
Or Friends of Library or David's let us know. Yeah.
Okay, yep,
On the website, it's required that they.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, and in fact, it's even proposed already as October 9th.
Yeah.
So we'll
Okay.
confirm that before meeting in, and we'll reach out to you.
Great. And you guys, thanks for volunteering and your time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, see you both.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Yeah. Wow. that's-
Making
And,
progress.
I thought I'd just add, I do have a lot of the reports in the office that were done in 2010, 11, 12, if you, whatever, borrow them or look at those by architects and.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Because that is actually what I was asking about, and I have an appetite for that.
yeah.
And I don't know if they're on the website, they are available, and Larry from the foundation also gave me another report that was commissioned by Page and Morris, which kind of shows if you have so many square feet, you should have this many seats and this, so.
It was plans for a larger facility, much larger, and so that'll be a huge distinction. However, that was part of the problem too, in some respects, with
Yeah.
people, a handful of people in the city who were upset.
It's just too big. It's physically overwhelming.
Yeah, and then
They-
it was the look too. I mean, it was,
Just
it was a
matter.
train wreck that this seems to have really avoided to get to this spot, so we should be very, very thankful that we're right where we are.
I'm most interested in any capture of the community input, like requests, feedback. In addition of, and certainly seeing what was presented or proposed will be interesting. But if there's history of where was there surveys, was there
Mhm.
forums for input that was captured, that would be really relevant.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we have anybody from the foundation coming, I don't think so. So, let's move to item number 8, the future agenda items. And we've discussed many, so let's review and recap and maybe prioritize a few. Which, had a nice piece on some of the work that we started months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it fits, honestly, to me, it's sort of, we have this incredible milestone with this new library going in, and obviously there's a lot of input already, there's a lot of enthusiasm, excitement. But if we're going to have a renewed sense of purpose, like the mission of what this library is supposed to be for the community, it certainly feels like that kind of is a key
Oh, it's
element,
necessary,
you know,
yeah.
going in, and it should inform, you know, if like on that mission, what do we need? And obviously the facility is a key requirement, you know,
Yeah.
for the gathering, and what does that mean for services? What does it mean for resources and planning, and the fundraising is still fluid, you know, there are additional, you know, potential access to budget that we're gonna have. I think to me, that seems like a really solid place for us to start.
And I think it's urgent.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a sense of having it done before something, you know, all this planning goes one way and we realize that we're missing something.
Right.
And
Just
having a
to-
mission statement that is clear and stated and known will help everybody just do this, be on board, on the same board.
Yeah.
So to crystallize that, we're talking about reviewing and revising the mission statement.
Yeah.
Revitalizing, just updating it.
Correct.
So that is captured. There are other things though. There's a number of things that have come up in the past.
I think underneath that was one, the updating the mission to fit this groups and communities, like refresh, renewed point of view on what the library should provide to the city of Larkspur. And I think second there to that is what's our vision for getting there? Like how does the next year, 2 years, 3 years like fit on that arc? Which I think earlier you were mentioning, you know, that you were thinking about what are the kind of goals you want to set for, you know, a year or 2 year. And that just feels very fitting
Couldn't agree more.
into that.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you. I might not be on the same meeting, but
no, I think
Want to make
this will,
sure.
yeah, I think this will be potentially a. You know, we can,
Setting a course.
in the next meeting, you know, maybe you can give us what you think is a reasonable framework and time, you know, to get there. And how, what you recommend is the way to, for us as a body to do, the work also in addition to the community, you know, feedback that we can collect along the way.
Yeah, that sounds good. And for us, I think that's really good because no matter what the building is, that'll help guide what kind of programs, services, collections, you know, so it's with the new building, but it's also will be what it is now and in the future.
well, it's important to know also which way we want to go, so that once the building is done, we don't say, oh, done. We did not think about that,
Mhm.
which is, I doubt it would happen because apparently there's 3 architectural firms who have been building libraries, so they probably know about what libraries need nowadays and physically than we do. But we need to make sure that our specific
Yeah.
desires are met, that if, I'm gonna take for example, if we really want to commit to teens, we need to make sure those firms know that teens are important to us, more than maybe another library they had, which was in a community where babies were more important, or anything.
And honestly, I think the physical dimension is so important here because Armel said something last year in one of the meetings, which was, you know, we had this like grandiose sort of like ambitions for like what, you know, the library could be. But then there was like an element of the fact that we're so close to different libraries and from where we are, you know, Corte Madera has a sizable library, Tiburon has one, you know, there's access to quite a different set of libraries that we can get to pretty quickly. And it's sort of the question was like, what do we want to have? You know, like if I remember back, you know, 10 years ago, you go to the Tiburon Library and it was like, it was made for professional, like working people, like it was like a little, you know, it's like a beautiful table with like a working station. You could just go in and say, okay, there was a purpose to how this space was designed for, you know, what the community of Tiburon wanted. It's like, well, what do we want? You know, and so it's not that even the new building isn't like insanely large. Like it's still have to be very prioritized and picky about the indoor, outdoor, you know, how we optimize that.
And what type of activities we want to be able to host there? As you say, do we want a place where people come and study? Having something that's more like the
Focus.
university.
Yeah.
Library where people come and write a resume or apply to job, or do we want a place where we can have puppet shows, or where we can have teams doing robotic, or this is what is important.
3D printing to like a virtual reality
Yeah.
lab
Yeah.
to a green room where
Right.
people could go and broadcast from.
So do we want?
They
a
don't
big
have
space?
They don't have Safeway anymore, or they're sorry, Lucky's, they're not Lucky anymore. It's a hangout grant, so.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I don't know. We've spoken about the flexibility of the space and having like multi-use, characteristic to the space. But something I want to introduce or just reiterate is a dynamic component where like some amount of the space could be dynamic where it can undergo change. And to me, the pandemic really drove home that you can't predict and things are not static. And the needs of the community or even the desires of the community are guaranteed to change. That if some portion of the library was like, you knew it was always going to change, like this year, this season, it's X. And different groups have input to it, or it's going to evolve next year, and it, could just be a part of the library that you expect it's not going to stay the same. I think could be, I've never seen that in a library before.
Where it was.
Where, some amount of the space, it changes.
Oh, modular.
Yeah, and modular, flexible.
Yeah.
I thought was very appealing in some of the designs that we've seen. So. There's a lot of ideas. For what that space can include.
Yeah, and I like that idea too, because that also sets a tone for a changing, exciting library. If you're changing this one space all the time, people know it's always changing. It's not just fixed. And when the grand opening, it's not always going to be like this, because also it's going to probably be a 50, 100-year building. You saw Tiburon, even after 10, 15 years, they said they had to get another wing.
yeah.
Because I think their community changed a little bit. We don't really know what Larkspur is gonna
And
look
the-
like in 30 years.
The library is stack driven. At Tiburon, you've got stacks in the middle of the space. They do have big space, but they still are book driven. And I don't know if that is still something that is so necessary, especially with all the loaning between library that can be done, that do books need to be right there, except for the little one who just have to grab the books to be able to be interested in it. But
I think collections are pretty important still, so.
yes, but do they have to be in the middle?
Oh, yeah, no, there's very flexible ways you could do
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah.
And in this situation, I think there is room for, this could be stage one of a library too. This is, this never precluded this. Square footage never precluded the addition of more space, just like anticipating something that could happen like with the Tiburon Library. I love the fact that you do have connections with coming from the county, though, that all these other places and the pitfalls of different places and have done, what did you say, the refreshing of other libraries too, because that coming with that insight is going to be really helpful in this project with the new building, but also with this mission statement, which I think should be as succinct as possible, because I think, as you said, it is rambling and long as it appears now. And so if it could be succinct with just those, like you mentioned, connections and how that works in as a librarian and then as a library, and that commons that is part of this, and collections thrown in there too. So
Yeah, ideally, I'd like to have a mission statement we could all remember off the top of our
Yeah.
head.
Correct,
yeah,
can be
That or
stenciled.
the community, you just,
yeah.
we love
Yeah.
words though in libraries, so that's why working with people, you want to get it, but you can synthesize the ideas, because a lot of people have the same idea, but they're just coming at it
From-
different ways.
Yeah.
So. So thanks.
But no, we should be, like, Amir's been talking about this for. And each time I think,
beginning.
yes, we should be doing this and
Yeah.
by honing it down and getting it figured
And I
out.
think that-
And it makes sense in this community, and I think, this is the perfect opportunity to be doing that.
It really is.
Agreed, and so timely, right,
Yeah.
before everything is,
Takes
you know,
shape.
set sail.
Yeah.
And the point that Amir was making, which I've been on it, is that we do not have to be everything. As we know, we have all these different libraries and schools around who could provide some of it. And there's something that we are better suited to provide. And it's better to be really good at one thing,
Yeah.
to try to be okay at too many things, because we're small.
Yeah, when you say that, I mean, we get into ideation here a little bit, but like Corte Madera is really set up for public computers. They also have conduits
Sure.
to like, as a county system to HHS for populations that need
Yeah.
services. And like San Anselmo doesn't have that many public computers. Obviously, we should have Wi-Fi. People should come there for computers, but I don't know, that was, when you said that,
Those are the kind of trade-offs that you can make when you have such a clear purpose, mission, and a clear
Exactly.
vision you want to execute on. You say, yeah, we intentionally don't have public computers, or we don't have these things, and if like we're not required by law, to have these things. Then it's like, because this library's mission is to do this. And to deliver on that mission, this is the space we're gonna need. These are the programs we're gonna need.
And our mission is driven not only by what it is that we can or want to do, but also by what others are doing, so that we know we don't have to have it. Because we know our community in Corte Madera is 2 mile and a half away. We are not sacrificing it, we're just. We can tell people, we'll take you there, we'll make, maybe we can have a computer delivered to you. There are other ways of doing it, and this is why we need the mission, this is why we need to know what we can do, what we're good at, what is needed, then we go from there. Right?
Oh. and I didn't know you did all this before either, so I
Yeah.
know it's great for synergy
We're
just kind
trying,
of happened,
But
so.
we'll make it.
Yes,
Oh,
we've got all we need now to proceed.
yeah,
Yes,
and you.
yes, yeah. And again, just like if any of this is overwhelming and like, you wanna ideate of additional time brainstorming, we're all happy to, sync up before this next meeting. So just let us know what we can do to help.
Mhm.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, excellent, so let us move to the next item, setting the date for the next meeting. There is an October 9th date proposed. Does anybody have conflicts with that date?
It is, no, I don't have conflict, but it is Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, if that's
Is
it's a federal holiday.
Is it?
Is the school out?
So I don't know if
Should
that,
we move it to the following day, so you say the 10th?
anything works for me, so.
This would be October 10th.
We'll be open, we'll be under normal holidays, or, we'll be,
Yeah.
No, they're not.
No.
Well, Jill Cummins is not.
Yeah, I don't think in California they are anymore.
I cannot do the 10th, but
Schools are on,
On the 9th, I believe so.
alright, and Gossip came on,
all right, let's do that.
our lives are.
do the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah, the 9th.
Tied up,
Yeah, if you got one date,
Yeah.
go for
alright,
it.
let's do it.
The 9 works for me.
Okay,
Perfect.
good.
And the 6 o'clock time is a good time, like,
Yes.
keeping this one a good
Yeah.
time.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay, so the next board meeting will be Monday, October 9th at 6 p.m.
That's good.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Yeah,
it's lovely to meet you.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
motion to adjourn.
And so,
So move.
Seconded. Done.